Welcome back to Podhalla as we talk about the 2-1 Golden State Valkyries. And I think people are disappointed that they're not 3-0. You were at the game last night. So let's talk a little bit about your live view of what went wrong in a game that started out like the Valks were just going to take care of business. And then Chicago just got back in the game, took it over in the third. Valks are coming from behind. They were able to tie it a couple different times, but they just could not close the distance at the end there. What were some of your live thoughts as you watched that game?
First, I want to shout out Chris from the Discord. She hooked me up with the ticket, and it was lovely to meet you. Thank you for the invite. But I think when I was watching, it kind of brought up some of the concerns from the offseason, which seemed to be, the overarching theme, especially in the Discord, being that, we I kind of feel like what Chicago was doing is that they just had these, four just really solid defensive guards, being, Skylar Diggins, being Gabrielle Jaquez, being JC Sheldon, and Natasha Cloud, that they were just able to, keep these Valkyries offensive players in front of them. And, when the Valkyries ran pick and roll with Kia Stokes, it was like Kia wasn't really, the pick and roll wasn't working, but also like the ball handler would end up dribbling into Camila Cardoso, and they didn't want to shoot the layup against Camila either. So you just had these guards in Burton and Gabby Williams and Caitlin Chen, who, I mean, it was just a stalemate of like offense that we were watching. Is like they just didn't want to take it to the hoop. The shots weren't falling, so it was a kind of a nightmare for them, and especially a matchup nightmare, given that Chicago has these good defensive guards, but they don't really have these good defensive wings. But the Valkyries don't really have these wings that are healthy right now. That I mentioned they could have gone to Janelle Salon more in the mid range, but there's been a clear effort to like kind of shaping up her shot profile. So she's just really shooting threes. She's not really shooting those mid range shots that she used to shoot a lot last year. And I kind of think we could have used some of them because, yeah, the guards weren't able to kind of get by their defender, or in Caitlin Chen's case, she was able to get by sometimes, but she would try to avoid contact from Camila Cardoso so she wouldn't get to the free throw line. And she was also missing the layups. And Chechi Zandalicini was hurt. So that would have been, a player that would have been able to get some buckets up because they didn't really have any strong defensive wings. But I have a lot of thoughts about this game, and I could keep going. And I think what we said also was, we mentioned it, while they were still building their team, when Carla got taken in the draft and we hadn't signed Tip Hayes yet. And it was like, we don't have any kind of downhill threat that's just going to quickly get by a defender and get to the free throw line or get a layup. And they ended up re-signing Tip, but just like last year, she goes down with a weird injury, and we kind of just have to wait and see with her. They could have used Tiffany Hayes. They could have used Carla late tonight, or last night. And, Tip Hayes could have gotten by her defender and just flopped once Camila Cardoso got in her space, and she would have gotten 7 free throws. I was talking to Chris at halftime, and the Valkyries had 2 free throws attempted to Chicago's 10 free throws, and it was just no one was going to the hoop, and that there was a little more effort to go to the hoop. But I kind of think that was just the main theme, is that you don't really have what happens when people are able to stop your guards. Like, what are you gonna do? And I think that that's a question that we'll have to continue to see throughout the season. And what happens when a team has a comparable defense to yours, then, they're able to stop you on offense, and you're able, we kept Chicago at sub 70. It's pretty good, but they kept us sub 65. So, like what happens when a defense is another team's defense is kind of similar to yours, but they had a little bit more of a dynamic offense. Rakia Jackson has a really slow start and is able to get going like scorers do in the second half. Skylar Diggins, pretty consistent throughout. Camila Cardoso, they shut down, but she was still very impactful for deterring away these guards at the rim. Whenever Elizabeth Williams came in as her replacement, that's when I felt like we kind of had a chance. So just, Camila being in that game was already impactful enough, and she was making Kia Stokes work really hard to try and box her out, and she was still getting some offensive rebounds. Like, they just had these dynamic offensive players that, we have a really good defense, kept them sub 70, but they were able to kind of etch out a win ahead of us because of, those dynamic offensive players.
I love games like this because you learn a lot about the hardcore fans. And when you win a game like they did against Phoenix, and I think a lot of us were like, how good is this team? If we can beat Phoenix, maybe we are really good.
Yeah.
And then you look at Chicago and you go, wow, we're 2-0. We should kill Chicago. We whooped them last year. They're a much different team this year. And you're already dreaming of 3-0. I think a lot of the fan base had kind of put that one in the W section already. But what's cool about a game like this, it's not cool that they lost. Of course, you don't want them to lose. But what you are able to see is from the fan base, one, expectations. Like all of a sudden, the second year Valkyries are expected, home court. You're playing against a team that you should beat. And when they're not playing well, it's like, maybe we're not as good as we thought we were. When just 3 days ago, we were not even sure that we could beat Phoenix at home and Phoenix is coming off of a back to back. So it's like, it's just the expectation, right? And with a brand new team it's not last year's Valkyries anymore, at least to the expectations, because fans are looking at last year and going like, oh, wow, we have to be better this year. And honestly, I think they are. I think they are a better team last year, but so are other teams. Chicago is clearly a better team than last year's team. They signed players and they found some players who are some vets who are going to get buckets. Like you mentioned, Skylar Diggins. The Valkyries missed a Skylar Diggins type player when they were in a rut to just score a bucket, to just get to the basket, to just get to the foul line. They missed that. And that could have been Tip Hayes if Tip Hayes wasn't injured. But you know who it wasn't? It wasn't Cale Thornton, who I think in some instances they do think that she may be able to be that. She had probably the worst game that we've ever seen her play, offensively at least. I don't even think she made a bucket. And so, it's just those things, but it's so early in the season that, one of the things when you're a fan and you think a little bit of something about basketball, you can be very concrete in your thinking. So coming into this season, Kia Stokes is such a minus offensively. She kills the overall offensive firepower for the Valkyries. And yet, in the first quarter, at least, she was exactly what they needed her to be. Make layups, make some easy shots. She had 5 blocks last night, which is a pretty big deal. But then when she doesn't bring it on the offensive side of the ball, then you go, see, that's who we thought she was. She was exactly who we thought she was. And what we just need to see is her play more. Like, I'm sure she's not going to be an all-star, but I'm not sure that they will not extract positive things out of her. Now, she is older. She is a journeywoman kind of player. She's not maybe she wasn't meant to be the starting center on this team. So we'll have to watch that play out. But as fans, we're trying to look for things that make us right about our predictions. And so if you came into this season going like, if the 3-point shooting is not there, how are the Valkyries going to score? That game against Chicago, you were right, because they couldn't score without the 3-ball falling. They couldn't create enough action. And what's interesting is I didn't get to watch much of it, but I watched the first quarter of Fever and Sparks. And that was the opposite of this game, right? Everything was just free flow offense. There's so many spots for Kelsey Plum and Caitlin Clark to just get their groove on and find stuff. And this was a different game. This was like an old school, like late 1990s NBA game where your teams can't score. But when that happens, who is going to be that player to be able to shake loose and get a bucket? Veronica Burton did not play well offensively. And some of that was because defensively, they played her so well. And we also talked a little bit about that in the offseason. Veronica Burton now has a bullseye around her. The way to stop the Valks is to stop Veronica Burton. That's how you do it. and they were looking to stop any sort of action with her. Gabby Williams, I thought played pretty well, but as we know, she's not going to be that 40% three-point shooter. She's tall. She can get to the bucket when she wants to. I thought she played okay. But, outside of those are your two offensive players who have the ball so much of the time. So then where does the rest of it come from? What I thought was pretty interesting was Janelle Salon, she's not starting. And I think the reason why she's not starting is because they're trying to kind of set the tone defensively to start these games, which is what they did last year too. And so you're putting your what you believe is maybe your strongest defensive lineup out there, and then Salon is going to come in, and when she gets the ball, she's putting that ball up. But she also was not really they were not getting her the ball. Like, she was trying to post up and they were not getting her the ball, but there were moments for her to do something with the basketball. And then she would take a step back three. And then she would take another step back three. I made a joke in the Discord that even when she was close to the lane, instead of like having like a go-to post move or a move around the basket, I was like, she was just looking to step back and take a three is what it looked like she was trying to do. And so these are all like little things that I'm sure that Natalie Nakase is going to look at the tape and go, these are opportunities that we just flat out missed. And so how do you get better? As you were watching, did you see the problems as, I don't even know how I would describe it, but it just seemed the offense looked like they were locked. Like, they could not move. They were trying to run their plays. They were getting started late. There were moments where the ball's kind of slapped away and you're running it back with 5 seconds left on the shot clock. Like, it just seemed like Chicago sort of maybe had the offense figured out, and maybe they knew kind of what was coming. And then the Valks couldn't execute, and they were left with like really hard shots at times, and some open threes that they just missed, but just no real easy opportunities to score.
Yeah, no, that's what it looked like out there. And it was, it was also like, it felt like when they got turnovers on defense, like then you can like the ball, it was everything, like the speed was picking up. The Valkyries were able to play, with the faster pace. But it was like when Chicago would like score or get to the free throw line and it wasn't like a fast break, it just felt like the Chicago was controlling the pace, like these long, possessions on offense, and then they would score or they would get to the free throw line. And that wasn't every time, but it did feel like they were kind of controlling the pace, where the Valkyries wanted to play fast, Chicago wanted to slow it down. And then when the Valkyries were on offense, it was just what I was saying. Like, the guards were trying to initiate everything, and Chicago just happens to have these lockdown defensive guards. And not every team's going to have those type of lockdown defensive guards. Maybe some teams have the lockdown defensive wings that maybe, our guards have a better chance of getting by. But it felt like everything was initiated through the guards, and they couldn't get by their defender. And also the shot wasn't falling. So, but that's going to happen. That's Seattle, sure, not that strong of a defense. I did mention how I liked aspects of it, but not that strong of a defense. Phoenix, seemingly not that strong of a defense either. This is their first defensive test. And, again, they're missing some players, but everything was generated through the guards, and they couldn't get by their defender. And Kia Stokes, although played very well, like you could see where, we kind of mentioned it a little last night, but like Rupert, although like she would have gotten dominated by Camila Cardoso in the post, like that's probably something that you're open to just going with, because Rupert would have spaced out the floor, and Cardoso would have had to come up. So then maybe there's a better chance you can get to the rim. But yeah, this is definitely, I definitely fall victim to doing some of the stuff where it's like, sometimes I get very excited about the second game ends, and I'm like, oh, do we have I don't want to get it too ahead of myself here.
That's all of us, though, right? We were
after
all
this game,
thinking that way.
After this game, I think you just gotta. I am worried about it's kind of what I said when we played the Minnesota Lynx last year, when it was like you lose that game against Seattle in the regular season, and then you're just like deadlocked into playing Minnesota number one. And it's like, okay, well, you knew we already lost that because Minnesota is one of the two teams in the league that have a better defense than us, and they also have a way better offense. So you knew it was cooked. But this year, like I just want to keep an eye on what happens when they play. I had it open, then I started looking at last year's stats, but am I back on? No, this is 2025. So what's going to happen when they play? How does the Toronto Tempo have the number one defense in the league? I know we're 2 games in, but 3 games in, but Chicago's defense looked good. Atlanta is someone that, a defense that I'm a little worried about. A healthy Minnesota, but we know that's not going to happen. But I do think they probably have a good chance against a New York Liberty who is not playing that well of defense right now, but we know that they have that offensive firepower. Like that's a game that the Valkyries, I feel like, could, outperform expectations and make us all like, overreact and want to take them all the way. But it's like, maybe we need to look at it from like, okay, New York has a really impressive offense, but their defense is lacking. And that's the games that the Valkyries are able to take advantage of. But what happens when it's a good defense? And we're just going to have to keep an eye on how these throughout, as these games progress. I imagine the Toronto Tempo will not be a number one defense, but, just seeing how the grid lays out and who are the top defenses and how do the Valkyries play against them? That will be something I will be keeping my eye on.
They also have 2 bigs, or depending on, what Breanna Stewart is going to do. She can maneuver all around the court, but there is some size there with her and John Quell, so the Valks will have to figure that out. And I do wonder. I was thinking about this as I was watching Kia Stokes play. She's very athletic. She's very long.
Mm-hmm.
But there are some things that you can tell she just does not do well. She's not very comfortable with the basketball in her hands. I know she wants to hit that 3-pointer just so she can show people that she can actually do it. She took another one yesterday. We always talk about the Warriors in comparison to the Valkyries because of the team that we had previously watched. And, what did the Warriors need for all these years? Just a big who could roll to the basket and not drop the basketball and just make a layup.
Is Kevon Looney. Like, right? It's just not like...
That's a good comparison. Now, Warriors fans will say, oh, no, Loon was dependable and this and that. But same frustration.
You're just not expecting. You just know what you're going to get. Like, don't expect, this great offense. Like, it's like good defense and just can be out there and roll to the basket. Like, just don't expect anything more than that. I think is kind of she's just a Kevon Looney. And people I think on Twitter were saying like, oh, why didn't Amihir get more minutes? Sure, they could have tried her more than they did, but it just didn't look like an Amihir game. Like, it looked like Camilla was putting her through the basket or getting her way. And Amihir is she's 6'4", long, athletic, but she's not that strong. Kia Stokes kind of has that strong base that Amihir maybe doesn't have, and so that would have been a more Amihir minutes again. I think it's like different matchups are better for one or the other. Where like Phoenix, like Amihir, like, but if people remember, Amihir didn't have that great of a game against Seattle, and that would make sense. Dominique Malonga, Stephanie Dolson, those players, Stokes was able to play better against, but where there's maybe, in moments where Phoenix tried to go small 5 with Alyssa Thomas or DeWanna Bonner as the 5, or, Natasha Mack was either out or not playing that well. Like, yeah, Amihir is able to take advantage of it. That's going to be, but also we just got, a new 6'5" center from Stanford. Hardship. Yeah. So I'll see. Is her name Ashton Pretchell?
You know better than me how the pronunciation.
So I'm interested to see how they integrate her because she's not on a developmental contract. She is able to play, and they clearly need someone who could shoot from distance as a big, in my opinion. Yeah.
So if the Valkyries try to run out a death lineup-y kind of lineup,
can they?
I'm just asking if they wanted to zag. If you're like, you know what, Kia Stokes and Camilla, like we were able to play this very well for 2.5 quarters, but we need to do something else. We need to, how do we get out in the open? They definitely want us to slow down. How do we get out in the open? That the rebounding was very close. I think the rebounding was similar for both teams. But if the idea was, let's get out and run, and how do we get out and run? Well, we put Ami here at center. Who would be the other 4 players that you would put around Ami here? Because you need shooting. You also need to get the rebound so you can run. Who would the rest of the other 4 players be in your death lineup?
I mean, for sure, Burton and Gabby. If Amihir's at the 5, yeah, I mean, I guess she kind of has to be because we don't really have any 4s that could play that are like a 4/5, like a Monique Billings was last year. So Amihir for sure, Burton for sure, Gabby. Feel like you gotta say Janelle with how she's been shooting the 3.
She's a little slower of a player, though. She seems to be a little bit more comfortable in like more slower sets.
If you don't go Janelle, then maybe KT and Chechi, but Chechi's also a little slow, but she can shoot the ball so well. So how do you not put her in one of those spots?
Yeah, you kind of need her for the shooting. And you could also look at having Tip in there and maybe stretching Chechi to the 4. Like there's opportunity.
I mean, Kyla Charles plays fast, and she's been in some of these successful lineups.
She also gets rebounds.
I really like Kyla Charles. I don't know if I agree with her as a starter though, just because it's like, okay, Kyla Charles is out there guarding your best guard defender, and it's like, but we have, Burton and Gabby as these all W defenders. Like, why can't we just
probably
go more offense?
Probably don't want to get the early foul trouble on the other 2 guards as well. But it's a great point because the one thing that Kyla does is she gets rebounds and she sticks her nose in there, and you can kind of see her a little no nonsense at times, which is really fun to see. But I don't know that they actually have a death lineup. I'm just thinking there's going to be situations this year where the lineup with Stokes is just not having it. So how do you flip the switch? What can you do to flip the switch? How does Natalie, how does she think in the space of like, how do we create offense when it is hard for us to get good shots? So it's just something that I was thinking about, and I don't know if that's something that they look at, but there's going to be lots of opportunities unless they do find someone else to play the 5 spot. There's going to be so many opportunities to go, okay, we're going to need to go small. We're going to need to run. We got to have the right people in to get rebounds, whatever it is. I think Kia Stokes is good as like a 15 to 20 minute player, but they're having her play 30 minutes right now. And that might be a little bit too much.
Yeah.
Okay. So they don't play
for a while,
for 8 days, 7 days from now. I think 7 days from now against the Liberty. And then the next night against the Fever. So they got a back-to-back against.
Is it home?
No, I think I want to say the Fever game is away.
Then the Liberty game has to be away, right?
I'll look. Let me look it up here. I was looking up Jonquel Jones numbers here. So they play at the Liberty Thursday, at the Fever Friday, both early starts, and then they come home on Monday, and then the Fever come back the next week. So the Fever are going to be in town, and that'll be a big ticket to see Caitlin. So they got time to figure this out. This WNBA schedule is so weird to me. How can you play back-to-backs and then not play for like 8 days? So they'll come back and I'm sure we'll have a full week to get fired up for that Liberty game. All the people who are really excited and the people who are like, "See, I told you so," which is everybody. Like we all think like that. We are all hardcore fans, and I do not dismiss anybody who is passionate about their thoughts, as long as they're not like negative or mean. It's all good. So I told you to think about. I mean, beginning of the season, we got 3 games underneath. They got 3 games underneath their belt. What has been a big surprise to you in the first 3 games so far. And then on the flip side, we'll do the other thing, which is like, the biggest concern still from the season.
I think how good I feel like I shouldn't be that surprised, but I think a mix of just Kyla Charles looking as good as I feel like she has. And I know she was a starter for us at the back half of last year, but that was a little bit of, due to injuries and stuff like that. But she's come in and, reclaimed her starting position, and I think has just given them exactly what they need from her, which is just really good defense and a hustle player. Um, so I think Kyla Charles has played very well. I think Janelle Salon from distance, at least for those first 2 games, that was incredibly surprising as well. I didn't think she was going to shoot it like that. And maybe we start to see the cool down, but I'm kind of bullish on her 3-point shot. So I'm hoping that's not the case. But yeah, those two, because I'm not surprised about Gabby looking as good as she did in that Phoenix game, which I know we haven't talked about that Phoenix game. I don't imagine we will, but I thought that was like just a pure like showcase of what Gabby Williams can bring to your team, and it was perfection. It was so good. So I'm not that surprised that she has. I've been saying it's a perfect fit for her.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm gonna go with the Kyla Charles and the Janelle Salon pick. What about you?
I think from a surprise perspective, the fact that they were able to create so much offense from their defense in those first 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
There's they play with a certain style, like, you can tell, and that's why I mentioned I'm guessing Kyla starts and Janelle doesn't start because they want to set the tone with their defense, and that is, that is a better defensive start for them. But just the ability for those 2 guards at the top of the key just to set the tone for the rest of the team, and then to create offense out of that, and then, as you can see, I mean, this is kind of the style is they they get so excited when they stop the other team, like, it fires them up, like, it gets them going, and it really creates, just energy for them, and so I think we were all kinda like, "It should work this way because they're both really good defenders, but you wanna see it in real time," and I think we were able to see it even yesterday. They did a great job yesterday too. They weren't able to create as much offense with the defense, but Chicago didn't shoot very well either. If this is one of those games where neither team shot well, and so you gotta give credit to both defenses. And I guess I would say my last one is I'm gonna lean towards Janelle as well. I don't think she's not short of confidence. You can tell she definitely believes like she's the best player on the court. The 3-point shot falling the way it has, like it does the shot look any different to you?
No.
It looks the same, right?
Yeah.
Same line drive shot. She's so
Well, okay. Well,
tall,
the arc is maybe a little different, but the
maybe a
way
little
she
bit better.
shoots it, the shot form is the same.
But you can tell she believes that she can shoot that shot because she's just taller than the person guarding her. So when she's got a wing on her and she's in the corner or she's near the 3-point arc, it doesn't really matter to her how close that defender is. She's comfortable putting that shot up. And like that comes from her off season, or it wasn't an off season for her. It was an off season for us as WNBA fans, but her international season where she was lighting it up and she's kind of carried that over. We saw a lot of last year where it was like, no, no, no. Oh, she made it. No, no, no.
Yeah.
She got
Yeah.
a little bit like that yesterday in the Chicago game where you're like, oh, I don't know about that one. But then she did make one as well. So that is definitely a surprise. And I want to see if she can continue that. Now, more than likely, with the way percentages work, like she's gonna, if she shoots in the high 30s, I think we're gonna be happy with that, right? If she shoots 33%, then you're kind of like, okay, maybe you shouldn't shoot as many. But she's very comfortable. She's very confident. So that is fun to see. What about your biggest concerns right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what I said at the top of the show. What happens when you play a defense that's comparable to yours? I'd say
Okay, let me answer your concern with a question. If Tip Hayes is in that game, is she the person who possibly can get them to the free throw line and get some layups and get them some easy scores?
without a doubt. But I think there are different defenses than like, I think Chicago was just very impressive at the guard position for defense. Like what happens, what's like Atlanta's like pretty all around, like they kind of got it all. So, but yeah, I think Tip Hayes would have really actually like maybe would have won them. I mean, I wouldn't feel like that's, too outlandish to say that Tip Hayes would have won them this game. They only lost by like 6.
Mhm.
Um, but I don't know if that would have, I don't know if a Tip Hayes would win them other games against these different defenses that are very impressive as well. I think Chicago, just specifically, I keep saying it, like their guard defense was incredible, and Nakase doubled down by saying like, let's run our 3 guard lineup with Gabby, Caitlin, and Veronica to try to generate offense, and that just didn't work. It just
Were
like
you surprised to see Caitlin play as much as she did?
yes and no, no, because like you could tell she was getting to the hoop, but yes, in the sense that like she wasn't making it. So it's like, they just wanted someone to get to the hoop, but she was getting to the hoop and then not getting to the line, and then also not making the shot. But like what I said, like how I feel like Caitlin's just I'm excited to see her growth, but it kind of does feel like it's like that early guard phase where it's like teams are kind of baiting you into looking for your own shot. Like, can I say that Caitlin Chen's a point guard? Because I feel like she's just always looking for her shot, not really like setting up a teammate is plan B if plan A doesn't work.
I
And
think it's what you said is they play off of her. So she's like, "Oh, if someone plays off of me, I have to attack them. That is what my job is."
mhm, yeah,
I want to go back to Chechi as well because what we saw in the little bit that she has
like
played this season
6 minutes in the game one, it was awesome. 6 minutes.
and what she was doing was she was attacking the mid-range. And that's what they didn't have yesterday is
Yeah,
it was all threes or layups. And I know that is the strategy, but she was the mini KD, right? And who do you when the Warriors in 2016, 2017, 2018, when Steph would go cold, when Clay would go cold, it'd be like, okay, we need Sean Livingston to back his little man down and shoot 15 footers. And we need KD to back his little man down and shoot 17 footers. And that's how we stop get back into the thing. And Chechi could be that player for them because she also has some length to her and she also has the footwork to get to shots that she feels very comfortable with. So who knows how long she's out because looks like she has a head injury, even though it's so weird to me that there's almost no information about these injuries, like no expectation about when she's coming out. If you play WNBA fantasy basketball, I still have no idea when Satu Sabali is coming back to my team. I have no clue. Like it's like the date changes in the app like every couple of days. So this is like, come on, WNBA, we don't have to give all the information. Just get a little bit more information. But she's in those 6 minutes that you said, we were all like, oh man, like she's exactly what they need in those positions. And she did it, and then she's not there. So those two players, very interesting that they both you kind of thinking, oh, if they were there, how would they have fit in? And that just shows you that they have some depth to this team. And some of Natalie's challenge is going to be playing the right players at the right time, because if we believe that she's leaning towards defense, especially to start these games, when is she going to go like, okay, we need a little bit more firepower here. So I'm going to have to take Charles off the court and put Chechi in, or there may be some games where it's like, I'm gonna have to sit Charles because we need something to start this game, and Chechi starts. So it's gonna be some night, a lot of as we've seen with Steve Kerr, he also leans towards defense sometimes. Like GP has a job because Steve Kerr trusts him to make the right basketball decisions. And so if you are looking at it from that perspective, like they have 12 players who they are willing to put on the basketball court, all the way down to Caitlin Chen. They're getting minutes. So how do you put the pieces, the puzzle pieces together? And that's what Natalie's job is going to be, putting the right folks in at the right time while still utilizing Burton and Gabby as your two best players, and you're keeping them on the court, probably 30 minutes plus a game every night. So that's going to be interesting to see how they play that. And as we also know with WNBA, there's so many injuries. So you do have to keep people active because you don't know when you're going to need them. And now, like for right now, you're missing two of your better offensive players. And so you're playing folks like, hey, need you now. That's why they get into games when some people are like, how come Janelle's not starting? Well, it's because you have to get other people in there too. And so, that's part of the job. And what seems to be maybe like a difficult part of the job. Like, can you imagine doing the old Mike Brown job of giving all the minutes to everybody in the lineup of how many minutes each person is going to play and what the rotations look like? That's just kind of like a very hard job for a coach.
Yeah.
All right. So what's your temperature gauge here? We were flying high after Sunday night, the game against the Mercury's. Like, oh my gosh, this team, they may have took it up a level. I think where did we get to in the Sabrina scale? Like 5? Like,
But I mean, there were some power rankings that we had, like ESPN had us 2.
Oh my God. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's not, I think they're still a little higher than, I think I started at around that 6 to 8 seed expectation. And then after the Phoenix game, I was like, hold on a minute. Is there a top 3 potential in there? And I think after this game, I'm more down to like maybe like 6, still on the higher side of the 6 to 8. But like I think that, I think how much offense they're able to create off of their defense, I think that's real. So, but I think, yeah, I know I sound like a broken record. I just want to see more games against impressive defenses to really kind of understand how I feel. And I don't think that we're going to get that in the next 2 games, being New York and Indiana. But I mean, Chris DeMarco in that Warriors system knows the importance of defense. But I was just listening to the No Offseason podcast, and I guess he's been talking about like, yeah, we let our opponents score 90 plus in the first 2 games, and like that can't keep happening. So he's aware that their defense isn't performing that well, and we know that they don't have Satu, Leo Fibic, Raquel Carrera is also in the Spanish league, finishing up those playoffs with Leo, and Ionescu. So they're not nearly full strength, but they should be better defensively than they are right now, regardless. So I don't know if we're going to get that defensive test in any of the upcoming 2 games, but we'll see.
My mindset is just be in the top 8. That's if you're in the top 8, then you're improving, because I think the league overall, some of these teams have positioned themselves in certain ways, and then on the flip side, some other teams are going to struggle a little bit more. So if you're in the same spot as you were last year, I think you're doing a pretty good job. All right, let's end with this. What's the expectation for Eustace? When is she coming? When is she gonna show her face, except for at the Warriors World event?
I was about to say she has to be here by the Warriors World event, which,
when is that?
What is it, like June 7th? So what does that look like on a schedule perspective for the Valkyries? June 7th. So they will have played
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They would have played 8 more games. They're in Las Vegas June 6th.
The night before. Okay. Yeah, I mean, she got to be there by then. But you'd think that she'll be here by the New York game. Like, you think that maybe they go to New York on Tuesday, probably Tuesday or Wednesday and maybe just
Yeah,
Tuesday,
probably
and
Wednesday. Probably Wednesday.
yeah, so
Wednesday to play Thursday.
you'd think that she's in New York by Thursday. Not saying she'll play, but you think she's there by Thursday, and I mean, shoot, we've been waiting for this for a while, like, just to get the opportunity to talk to her, right when she was drafted, like, I mean, blessing and a curse, we got to talk to her. Curse was now I was even looking forward to more to seeing her play in a Valkyries uniform, and we knew that wasn't gonna happen for a while. So finally, that's about to happen. Um, but yeah, they got a Warriors World event, first Warriors World Valkyries thing, I think. I said in
Are
our
we are
Discord
we
that I
are we
think
gonna get a Warriors World shirt? Is that coming
I
next?
think so. I hope so. A whole
'Cause
Warriors
I'll
World
buy
Valkyries.
one. She's not listening to this, but I've bought 2 of his last 2 Giants shirts, the one with the broadcasters and then the one with
Mm,
Willie Mays. I
those are
got
good
both of them,
ones.
so
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to a Valkyries piece of, memorabilia there.
Yeah. Because of you, I'm a big Warriors World fan because you went to all those early events, and I've gotten to meet people from you or through you that also went to those Warriors World events. But I think that, this event feels a little too Warriorsy for me,
Mhm.
where I feel like they're like the Valkyries, what's the stat that how much percentage of overlap is there in the season ticket holders? Like, I think it's just a
Mhm.
different, kind of community, and I would have liked to see like I said it in the Discord, but the Valkyries Say Less crew, like they're the ones that should have gotten they should have reached out to them, and maybe they did, but should have reached out to them and gotten them to be the
Instead of
live
the
podcast
whomever the radio guy
guru,
is,
I think. Yeah.
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 Yeah, it's interesting to see, like, what is the interest in that kind of thing for a WNBA player? When I was going to those Warriors World events back in the day, what they were is they were essentially mixers. So it was like you're a Warriors fan, it's kind of like a meetup. We'll have drinks and we'll have food and just hang out and there'll be music and you just vibe out and meet up with other Warriors fans. And that's what was really
I mean,
fun.
was there a game?
No, I don't it was just hanging out.
Just hanging
It was
out.
just chilling. It was just meeting up people who liked the basketball team like you, and,
That's cool.
you got to meet my buddy Miles. Um, Miles, I would see him there. I know Ben Cruz was there, but I didn't know Ben Cruz at that time. But there were like, 3 or 4 or 5 different people that I would just go and say hi and hang out with and chill out, and then you'd be done. But, this is interesting because this is kind of like, I'm assuming that it's gonna be an interview with her of some sort, and her persona, as shown by your interview with her, which is, I think, probably the first time most people, at least people listen to this, ever heard her. She's got a really cool vibe to her. It's very laid back, it's young, she's a young person. She's what is she, 20?
Mhm.
And so that environment for her, it'll be interesting to see how she feels or how she fits in. But if she's a good player, like we hope she is, there's a star quality to her, I think. And maybe that's what Sheed sees in her as well, is just a little bit of a star thing. Like maybe she is the person to kind of take the mantle and take the Valkyries into, maybe he's gonna, instead of Warriors World, he's gonna have a Valks Valley. You tried to
We
get
gave
that
I mean,
name
he could
going.
take it.
He can
We
take that one. We changed the
we
name of
tried
the
it.
podcast.
We didn't like it.
So yeah, so I'm interested to see her in those spaces, but I just want to see her on the court. I just want to see her basketball skill set. I want to see how Natalie uses her. They could have used her yesterday, right? Like she
Oh, yeah.
she she should be able to kind of fit in and help out in those scenarios. And she's so young. She's gonna be inherited as like the little sister now that Carla's gone, because she's so young. She's the youngest player on the team, all of those things. So I'm excited to see her. So I can't
Yeah.
wait. And I
I'll
guess we're just
probably
counting down.
I'll probably go.
You
At
should
least
go.
one of us
You
will
should definitely
represent.
go.
I wonder if Conrado or Nathan are gonna go. Maybe I'll reach out to
I'm
them and see.
sure those dudes are going. They gotta go. Yeah. So um Maybe I'll hit up Sheet and ask him if he's accepting any media to the interview. We'll say you got the first interview. Like I'll send him the link to the interview.
Yeah.
So all right. Okay, so we'll be back at some point next week to talk about the team. Not sure if we'll do a preview or not because it's, if stuff happens, like if Houston all of a sudden is ready to ball, then we'll have to talk about that. But we'll at least be around after the game. So one of those days after the game. All right, that is it from here. So for Brian, I am Double G. We will see you when we see you. Peace out.